This is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I go live right here on YouTube and Facebook twice a week. I go live on Mondays and Thursdays at 2:30, and I always make a card. And today we are doing this great fun fold card that I have not done before. It's a tower fold card, and it's really fun, and I can't wait to share it with you. I have not prepped much of my stuff ahead of time because I wanted to show you how easy this is. Basically, we're going to start out by creating this kind of piece right here. And that is starting with, you guessed it, a regular size piece of cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5. But we're going to score it differently and then, of course, cut it differently. So welcome, everyone. I see everybody's talking weather. We are freezing here. We are getting snow, and we walked outside today, and it was so cold. I mean, it's like in the high 20s, low 30s, but it just feels colder than it did all winter because it's not supposed to be so darn cold. I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and we're going to start scoring this one, and I'm going to score it at 1 inch and 2 inch from either side. Now I could also just go all the way across. I could open up my arm and measure out, and it would be at 6 1/4 and 7 1/4. But for me, it's just as easy to score at 1 inch and 2 inch. Is everybody excited about our sale starting tomorrow? Our last chance sale will start where they'll start doing all the discounts on everything that's going to be going from our January to April mini and our annual catalog, because we're getting a new annual catalog that's like right around the corner. So exciting. As demos, we get to pre-order out of it tomorrow. So I'm anxiously awaiting that. Okay, now I'm going to take this part and I'm going to put it at the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to lift up my blade and I'm going to drop it in the middle. Let's see, there's one more score line. Yeah, there is. Let's see, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Okay, one more score line. I'm confused because I did this without the score line, trying to see if I could make it simpler, because there's one score line they're telling you not to fold. But it was just as easy to just leave it there because I needed to know where to stop, because we're going to cut from 1 inch to 3 inch, and it's just easier with the score line there. Oh, and let me flip this around. Let's go this way so I can use my measuring on the side. There we go. That looks better. I wanted to see the 1 inch and the 3 inch on my measurement on the side of my trimmer. And I can see those clearly because I've put a piece of tear and tape behind it to highlight those letters, because they just seemed hidden to me when they were done in black. But I'm going from 1 to 3 at 1 inch. And then I'm going to do that again at 2 inches. Let's go this way. Let's go 1 to 3 over here. And my suggestion is to look straight down from the top. I'm not able to do that because of the camera being in the way, but it's, if you look straight down, you're going to get the better view and not go over. So it's just 1 inch in, and then I'm going to go 2 inches in and do the same thing. I'll go from 1 to the 3. Let's see, this way. Yeah, see, I'm going a little bit over by mistake because I can't look straight down. But it's all good. It'll get buried underneath the layers we're going to put there. All right. There we are. That was the hard part, is just doing all of this scoring. And it's actually not very hard because a lot of it's just on 1 inch increments. We did 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch from each side. Okay, and then we did our cuts at 1 inch and 2 inch, and it went between the score lines. So just from score line to score line. Is that making sense? Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make valley, or mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain. So it's just kind of either or every other, I guess is what I want to say. Every other one is going to go up, down, up, down. That's what's going to help us stand up the card, and it's also what's going to help us fold it so that it will fit into an envelope later on. Okay, now we're going to decorate it, and I have chose to decorate mine using this online exclusive of the Irresistible Blooms bundle. And I love this bundle because it comes with this awesome designer series paper. And the designer series paper can be used by itself. I definitely used one of these on an edge. But then I also used this one to die cut, because the die cuts that come with this cut out the flowers in the paper. So I just used these 2 dies and this piece of designer series paper, and I got all these flowers. And I went ahead and I used the die and I cut out these ones on the edge on purpose because I can still use those on a card. I can use them on an edge of a layer just by putting them up against the edge and make it look like I cut them off on purpose. So don't discount the fact that there's not a whole flower on an edge. Go ahead and die cut them anyway, because we can still use them. Okay, and then I'm going to use the stylish shapes. We all know I love those. I love any kind of die that is versatile and can be used in all kinds of ways, regardless of what, you know, bundle or whatever I'm working with. These dies always match because it's just a simple shape. So I'm going to use this stitched square, and I'm going to cut another one out in the soft sea foam. I have one. I'm going to cut one more, and I'm also going to cut one in white. What do you guys think is your most versatile tool? What do you have in your repertoire that you use all the time? And I don't mean just like your cut and emboss machine or your trimmer, but what is like a stamp set or a die set or something that you find yourself reaching for all the time? Like mine's obviously the basic shapes of our dies. I love those, and I'm so sad that our circles are retiring. Oh, and the stitch rectangles are retiring as well. I'm so bummed about that. So if you don't have the stitched rectangles or the layering circles yet, go grab them from my store, because I'm sure once we start discounting everything, and I don't think those are discounted. We have our lists already, and I don't believe they're discounted, but sales are going to go up tomorrow when everything goes on sale. Oh, the Stamparatus, I know that's retiring as well. So bummed about that. It's actually already gone from the store. I went looking for it earlier because somebody mentioned that they couldn't find it. And it's not on our store anymore, which makes me think that it's gone. So that didn't take long. Word got out and people went bananas and everyone went and grabbed one. Hopefully you took my advice last week when I told you to go grab one, and you did. Because it appears they're already gone. Unless somebody finds some in a back warehouse somewhere and they open it again, which I doubt, but... Okay, now I'm going to die cut a few leaves using the leaves that come with this set of dies, the Irresistible Blooms dies. They have taken our advice and they have started naming the dies and the stamp set the same thing, so we know what goes together. So there we go. That's going to be all of our die cutting because I've already cut the flowers. We're going to do some straight cutting because we're going to need to do our layers. So I'm coming in with some scraps. I always have these leftover strips from doing a lot of my layering. And these are fabulous for this kind of thing because they might turn out to be just the right size. See, very, very close on that one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start cutting my layers for this. We know that these two and these two were all our 1 inch, right? So I need a bunch of 1 inch strips and then I can cut my length. This one in the middle, however, was the piece we need is 4 1/8 by 1 3/8. So I'm going to lay this in my trimmer. And it's going to be halfway between two. Because it has these markings every 1/4 inch. And so your 1/8 of an inch is going to be in between two. So it's right before the 1 1/2. So past 1/4, but under 1 1/2. So that's going to be the 1 3/8. And then I need 4 1/8. So again, we're going to the halfway point between there. So that's going to be our center one. The rest of them were all 1 inch. So I'm going to do 2 of them at 1 inch. Okay, down the side, because this is 5.5, the designer series paper is going to be the 5 1/4. So this is going to be 5 3/8. So again, we're going to go past the 5 1/4, but not quite to the 5.5. And we're going to do that twice because there's one on either side. And then across the top, we need this one and this one. So those are both the 4 1/8 again. Thank you for everyone who's putting in hashtag prize patrol. That is your way of entering into the drawing to get today's card mailed to you in the mail. And I also totally appreciate it when you share my videos out to your social media, whether you're sharing it out to Facebook or YouTube or just your friends in general, because that does help the algorithm and helps me get seen. And I'm really excited that I'm really close to 5,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And when we hit the 5,000 subscribers, then I can do some kind of little drawing as a thank you to all you guys who are always helping me out. There we go. As I say, I couldn't find my take your pick tool. It wasn't put away. Okay, I love these little leaves because they have these little cutouts in them. And the die cuts those out when it cuts the outside of the leaf itself. And you know that our dies have these little holes in them. These are what we call ejection holes. And that's what you push when you want it to come out of the die. Oops. And then there's almost always at least one die in the set where they're going to put the item number etched into the back. Did you know that? So if you ever have a rogue die and you don't know where it goes, flip it over and check that little number and see. And you can go to the online store and you can put that into the search bar and it'll give you the stamp set. It'll search it by item number as well as by name. Alrighty, so we got all our cutting done. Oh, no, I lied. We have the designer series paper to do. Okay, so let's bring in the trimmer one more time. And I know that either side is 1 inch by 5 1/4. So I'm going to come in here to my 5 1/4. Oh, no, I need the 3/4. Okay. So 5 1/4 by 3/4. And then we have the 4 inch that's going to go across the top. And that's going to be by 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch. 1 1/4. And then 3/4. Okay, so now we can start putting it together. How's everybody doing today? I see y'all have warmer weather than I have. Thank you so much, Marva, for sharing and for liking. That definitely helps me out. I appreciate that so much. All right. Now, when I was saying that I didn't do this score line on one of the times I attempted this card, it's because that really doesn't get folded, because we have this is going to go over the top of it and keep that part straight. So we're going to kind of negate this score line every other time by putting our designer series paper over it. And with the 1/8 inch border, I use liquid glue because I like the wiggle time. And when you're not using your glue, it's always smart to keep the lid on it because it will dry a little bit, and sometimes it will dry in the hole. Oh, this is not fitting. Did I cut this wrong? Oh, it's 4 1/2. So 4 3/8. Ooh, okay. Well, we can do that. I got to talking too much, and I know what I did. I'm going to fix it. But what I should have done was cut 1/4 inch off the base. That's why it's not the 4 1/4. So my measurements are right. If you started with a piece that is, look at my notes, 5 1/2 by 8 1/4. Because that will make it fit into the envelope. Because our envelopes fit a 4 1/4 inch by 5 1/2 inch, you want this to be 4 1/4 so it fits in the envelope. Mine, because I forgot to trim off that 1/4 inch, this right here is 4 1/2, and so my card's not going to fit in an envelope. So I apologize. I always say there's something about turning that camera on that makes my brain go all foggy. But the good news is it's always fixable. There's no need to panic. This will not fit. Mine will not fit in an envelope, but I can give it to someone in person and they can still display it. So it's not like the card is ruined and can't be used. It's just unique. Okay, so it's best to decorate the card when everything is still all flat, because that's the easiest way to put down these pieces. Okay, so like I said, that's negating those folds. Okay, I'm going to come in and do these two sides. Should be 7/8. I do 7/8. Nope, I did 1 inch. Boy, I'm just batting 1,000 today, huh? Yes, you can just make your own envelope. That's a great idea. And we did those with the envelope punch board, but there's also a way to do an envelope without that. But it's always good to know that it's okay to make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. That's why I almost always offer written tutorials for these things that you can buy in my store, because the written ones have been proofread and have diagrams and, you know, all that good stuff. And of course, you get a free tutorial by purchasing through my store. And right now, you not only get the free tutorial, but you also get a spiral bound catalog for placing an order with me between now and April 15th, when I'm mailing out all of my catalogs. I will take it down to Staples and have it spiral bound for you before I send it out as a thank you for placing an order. Hi, Nancy. 40 degrees in southern Idaho. That's warmer than us. The snow has melted, but it's still cold and the snow's still coming down. It's stuck overnight and then melted in the morning. But it's still really, really cold, like freezing cold. Okay, these are going to be short, right? Yep. Okay. Come on, where's my other piece of this designer series paper? So 3/4 by 4 1/4. One 3/8. One 1/4. Geesh. There we go. And then 3/4. Okay, so my measurements again are a little bit wacky, so I'm going to repeat them for you. So you would start out with the card base being 5.5 by 8 1/4. So remember that part, 8 1/4. That's going to make everything fit down into an envelope, the Stampin' Up's medium envelopes. And then I measured in 1 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch from each side. Then I turned it this way and I measured in 1 inch, 2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, and cut between these score lines of the 1 inch and the 3 inch mark. Okay, then the pieces that go on here, the sides are 5 3/8 long by 7/8 is the Flirty Flamingo back there. On top of that is 5 1/4 by 3/4 of the designer series paper. Your middles, because this would be 4 1/4, the Flirty Flamingo would be 4 1/8 wide by 7/8 and 1 3/8 and 7/8 again. Then we're going to come in and it's going to be 4 inches by 3/4, 1 1/4, 3/4. Okay, and then when it's all folded up, it's going to fit. It will be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, I'm repeating that because mine got a little wonky. I got busy talking and wasn't paying attention. I did start saying about the glue and this little thing clogging up. I recommend keeping a quilting pin nearby because you can use the quilting pin to poke down into the hole and knock out the glue that's stuck there. Digging around in my drawer for my adhesive remover because somehow I got a little bit of adhesive on here. And these things are great for just rubbing on there and taking away that excess that should not be there. So these squares are cut using the Stylish Shapes dies. They are a great versatile die that can be used with anything. Okay. So now we're ready to start layering on. I'm going to go ahead and put this one on point. And I'm making sure that my point is below the edge because I want it to fit in the envelope, right? And it just so happens that the other part's going to line up on this point. So now I know it's straight. So that came in handy. Okay, so I know the glue has to stay in here. And I'm just centering it. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. By setting it there while I put the glue on it, it allowed me to know where not to put glue because we obviously don't want it on the pieces that are hanging over. These little pieces here, we want those to be glue free or else we will glue our card shut. Now we're ready to make our focal point. So that's when our stamping comes in, and I'm going to be working with Flirty Flamingo and Daffodil Delight, which are the two cardstocks I'm using, and then Soft Seafoam, which is this cardstock. That's one of my favorite things about Stampin' Up! Is that by using their inks and their cardstocks and their designer series papers all together, everything color coordinates. So if you have a Flirty Flamingo, cardstock, ink, marker, all those things, they're all going to totally match, which I love. And I used the stamp with the leaves and then this speckled background and then the word hello. So we're going to go with the Flirty Flamingo. Thank you, Amy. I'm glad you like it. I had seen somebody else do the fold, And so then I just adapted it to work with this stamp set, since this is what I'm featuring this week. And since this is a background stamp, it doesn't matter kind of where I'm putting it. It's just for a little bit of color. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp a few leaves. And as I said before, what I did was I used the dies that come with this stamp set, and I die cut out of the designer series paper. Because those dies work perfectly. So you could cut them out of the designer series paper, or you could stamp them, either way. And then I'm going to go ahead and just decorate them up a little bit, just to give them a little more oomph. I'm going to take a sponge dauber, and I'm going to go around the edge and just give it a little pop of color. I'm going to do that to both of them. And then I'm going to put a little bit in the middle of my top flower. Then I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm going to give them a little bit of a curl. And this isn't necessary. I just wanted it to have a little extra something. And, you know, flowers are not totally flat. They usually have a little bit of curl to them. So this is just going to make them more realistic. Then I'm going to use the glue dots to glue the two together, but then also to put a few leaves coming out from behind. I have a little piece of ribbon on here so that if I ever drop the glue dots, they don't roll across the floor and come all undone. Let's see. That way. And I'm putting two glue dots on it so that there's one coming from, that'll attach it to the flower, and one that's going to attach it to my card itself. And then we're going to adhere it right onto here, and everything's going to hit, so I don't have to worry about where adhesive's going to fall. And that's going to go right here in the middle. And that is our tower fold card. What do you think? Is that something you're going to give a try? I appreciate everyone who's been here watching and commenting and sharing. That means so much to me. I'm going to pull up the StreamYard giveaway tool. And we're going to do a spin and see who wins today's card. So it looks like because I didn't pull it up ahead of time, it didn't catch it. So if you all could please do me a favor and enter hashtag prize patrol one more time. Apparently I am completely caught off guard today and everything's a mess. So one more time for me, enter hashtag prize patrol. And then I will be able to spin and see who our winner is. Okay. Looks like I apologize for being so off my game today. This is not like me. I mean, yes, I make mistakes. Today I'm making like more than usual. Wow, 80 degrees yesterday in Las Vegas. That sounds wonderful. 56 in Petaluma. Y'all are having way better weather than me. Okay, looks like we got quite a few of you entered in. Thank you so much. Again, I usually have that all queued up ahead of time, and I didn't. So we're ready. My husband's home today, too. I think sometimes that has a little something to do with it. I'm not in my regular routine. There we go. Let me flip it. Okay, so we're ready to spin. So congratulations, Connie. You are today's winner, and you will get today's card mailed to you in the mail. This is our Tower Fold card. There we go. Done in Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, and Soft Sea Foam using the Irresistible Blooms stamp set, dies, and designer series paper. So thank you for joining me. I apologize, like I said, for being off my game, but we'll get back to it on Thursday. Mark will be back at work. I will hopefully be back to my normal self, and we will do it again, and we will do another fancy fold card using Irresistible Blooms. Thanks a lot. Bye.